Hi, you're live with Victoria from Next Step. So this evening, as one of our live feeds, we're going to be talking about sanitization and sterilisation. So we're just going to try and get a few people join in, and as normal, as I always say throughout, if there's any questions, anything you want to share, or any things that you've come across that might be helpful to other students, just pop them on the bottom, comment, join in, share, like it. Just let's get as much going on here as possible. If I don't answer you throughout, I'll always come back to you at the end, so don't panic. This is all new to us as well, so just bear with us. We're going to be trying to do something along these lines every week for you, so we're looking for ideas that are helpful to you. So if there's anything in particular you think would be really, really good to do as a live feed, just comment below or send us a post. If you're on our Facebook page, Instagram, we're building this day by day, so just keep popping things on there. We love to see pictures of your nails and any helpful hints and tips that you might want to give your students, or anything that you want us to help you with. I'm always there to give feedback, and so are the team. So this evening, as I said, I really want to talk about sanitization and sterilisation. So this is something that's really important, I would say, within the industry. And when I'm training, I really stress this to my students, the importance of completing your basic health and safety and following your hygiene, so covering sanitization and sterilisation. Not just that, but understanding the difference between the two. And even some therapists, technicians that have been in the industry 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10 years still aren't clear on the difference between sanitization and sterilisation. So tonight my aim is to make that clear to all of you and to give you some ideas of what you can be doing to make sure that you're going to follow this through. Okay, so as I said throughout, if there's anything you want to pop on as a comment, please do, and I'll do my very best to reply back to you when we're live. If not, I'll come back to you. So first things first, the difference between the two. So sanitization, what I want you to try and remember is that sanitization is something that only kills off part microorganisms or some of a bacteria. So for example, if you're using your cuticle nippers and they come into contact with the blood by accidentally nipping the cuticle, which I'm sure you've all done at some point, and certainly as a new nail tech you may come across this. If you just sanitize those tools, then that's not enough. It's not going to kill off that blood. So what happens is the next time you pick up that tool to use it on your client, you're going to cross-contaminate. You're spreading one person's blood to somebody else. So obviously it's really, really important that we don't just sanitize, we take it to the next level, which is sterilization. So sterilising is going to destroy everything. It's going to destroy blood, every fluid, bacteria, microorganisms. So we must make sure we take it to that sterilisation level. Okay, so to give you some ideas of what you could be doing, and it'll get you thinking about maybe like when you've been to a salon, have they sanitised? Have they sterilised? I'm always amazed when I go to salons how poor their hygiene and basic health and safety really is. And sometimes these are big spas that I'm talking about. So it will make you think about this. And certainly as a new nail tech or new therapist, it's about making yourself stand out from the 10 people on your road that might be doing nails. And if you make yourself stand out, then you will find people will come back to you. So it's not just about being a good nail tech, a good therapist, it's about having everything else in place as well. And trust me when I say, people do watch for, did she wash her hands? Did she spray her files? Did she use Barbicide? All those kind of things will make a difference to your client base and draw people back in. So it's really, really important. So first things first, that I always have on my trolley, whether I'm doing beauty, so massaging, waxing, or I'm doing nails, I always have my hand sanitizer. This is just a strictly professional one, but it can be any one, a professional brand, Salon System, those kind of brands. Keep it on your trolley when you're working. So I like to sanitize my hands in front of my client before I start. And if I'm working on her nails, I'll get her to sanitize too as well. And again, this is something that I'm always told by my clients, do you know what? I've never had this done before when I've been to have my nails done. And I'm actually amazed how few people actually use sanitizing gel. So keep it on your trolley, use it before, you can use it during, you can use it after, and little things like you might have a cough and a cold, or your client might have a cough and a cold. If you sneeze or blow your nose or cough or anything like that, when you're doing a set of nails, it's really, really important you sanitize your hands before touching that client again. So just make yourself aware, have it on your table, use it throughout. It's cheap enough, so just keep using it. So that's your sanitizing gel. Okay. The other thing, one of my favorites, and any of my students that I've taught, always going on about this in class, probably more than most, is our nail and file antiseptic spray. So this is my favorite product purely because I can use it on pretty much everything. It's an all-rounder product. So I can use it on my equipment, I can use it on my files, I can use it on the client's nails, on my nails, on a lint-free wipe and wipe over the nails. So it's really, really good. It's a basic product that every nail tech should have in their kit. And as I said, it's not overly expensive, but it's a product that can be used as an all-round. So just to show you how it's used, so I've just got some files here. So what I tend to do with this is I'll do it actually in front of my client before I start. So again, she's automatically picking up the fact that I've actually sanitized this file before I'm going to put it onto her hand. So I just literally, a couple of spritz either side, lay it on the towel while I then do my client consultation. That then allows it to dry and making sure it's ready to go. And then afterwards, I would then spritz it again. And as long as you don't come into contact with blood, so if that file, as long as it doesn't catch down the sides, some of you might have been filing nail extensions and you've caught round the sides. If that file comes into contact with blood, throw it away. Do not try and spray it and reuse it because you are cross-contaminating, okay? So only as long as it doesn't come into contact with any blood or anything along those lines. Perfect for that. Also, you can spray it, as I said, directly on the nail. So before I put on any nail extensions, when I'm prepping the nail, I'll spray the nail itself, wipe it with a lint-free wipe. You can also spray like your manicure bowls, your pedicure bowls, pretty much anything that's plastic you can spray. You can even spray your couches, your trolleys. The other thing that I like to use is surgical spirit. Super cheap and really easy to use, and it gives that real fresh smelling feeling. So you can just wipe over your trolleys with that, or you can, as I said, you can use it on any of your wipeable areas in general. But this spray is perfect, definitely one that you should all have, and make sure you use it. If any of my students are watching, you should all be using it, as I'm always going on about it. So as I said at the beginning, if anyone's got any comments, please just pop them on the bottom, or anything that you'd like to like and share with us, do let me know and I'll try my best to come back to you. So that can be used, as I said, on your files, things like your white blocks and your three-way buffers, manicure bowls, pedi bowls, things like that. That's sanitizing still. The other form of sanitizing is our Barbicide. So as you can see, it's quite a big bottle. You don't have to buy it this big, especially when you're starting out. You want to keep the costs quite low. You can buy them in smaller bottles. Now, Barbicide is one of those things that a lot of technicians or therapists have been told that it actually sterilizes their tools. It doesn't. So if your tools come into contact with blood, by popping them into your Barbicide, it's actually not going to work, okay? So it's great for in between your clients and for your general everyday use, as long as there's no contact with blood. So what we would use is just a small amount of this, mix it with your water, and it goes into something like this, which is a Barbicide jar. Okay, this is an actual Barbicide jar, but you could just use a little glass dish. So again, I say to all my students that if you're starting out, you wanted to keep costs quite low, because it does get expensive. I do appreciate it. I remember when I first started, trying to keep everything quite low is hard. I appreciate that. So you could just use a glass dish, fill it with a little bit of your Barbicide, and then mix it with water. I also put a little bit of a cotton pad or a lint-free wipe at the bottom of the glass dish, so that when I put my tools in it, it doesn't blunt the bottoms of them. Things to remember about your Barbicide is please change it regularly. I can't stress how important this part is. I've often been into salons, sat there, have my nails done, all lovely, and then I look at their Barbicide and I'm horrified to see what's floating around in the bottom of it. So if you pick it up, sometimes I've been into salons and seen bits of nail and cuticle all floating around in the bottom, and that Barbicide probably hasn't been changed maybe for a week, 2 weeks, or even longer, do I dare say. So it should be changed at least once a day. I prefer it if you would change it every couple of clients. If you're mobile, just dispose of it after every use. You don't have to fill it right up, just a tiny little bit, mix it with water, throw it away, start afresh for the next client. But at least once a day, please clean it. You shouldn't, as I said, pick it up and see lots floating around in the bottom. If you do, it's just a waste of time. It's not actually doing anything. The other thing I would say is your tools need to be in the Barbicide for at least 10 minutes before you use them on your client to make sure that they are sanitized. So when I get to a client's house, or if she's coming to you, put your tools straight away into the Barbicide, leave them sitting on the side while you do your client consultation, filing the nails, cuticle work, etc. Then you'll be ready to go ahead and use them. And when you're taking them out, just make sure you dry them thoroughly on a little lint-free wipe, because you don't want to get the Barbicide in contact with the skin, as it can cause a slight irritation. Not a severe, but please make sure you just dry it on a lint-free wipe, pop it onto the nail, and then it's absolutely fine to work with. And then wipe your tools before you put them back in, because if you just nipped away some of the cuticle, it's going to go in the Barbicide and it's going to then start floating around. So just wipe it around. So these sound like common sense things, but you'd be surprised how many therapists, technicians don't follow the basic rules. The other thing to note is if you've got a tool like so, it's got a hoof on one end and a cuticle knife on the other. If it's going into your Barbicide, make sure that you turn it regularly as well. Again, common sense, but you'll see a lot of technicians just put it in, leave it, and then they go to use it on the next client, and they haven't actually turned it. So again, it's no point in being in that Barbicide, okay? So key things to think about, make sure you do change it regularly. And now you're probably sitting there thinking about maybe when you've been to a salon, does that technician or therapist, does she have her Barbicide on the side? Does it look clean? Is she using it regularly? Is she wiping her tools? All these things are going to make you start thinking about what you should or shouldn't be doing as a new technician or therapist out there. So that's your Barbicide. And the other thing is be careful of where you dispose it. So I always try and dispose of it outside, not down sinks and drains, etc. Okay, and be careful with spillage and around young children, and just generally just take care with it. Okay, so that is your methods of sanitizing. So remember, sanitizing is going to kill off only some of your microorganisms, not everything. Then we're looking at your sterilizing. So sterilizing is going to destroy everything. So things out there, I know when I first trained, when we was at college, we used things like the autoclave. I don't know whether any of you have heard of that. Again, feel free to comment if you have. If you've got an autoclave, it looks like a big pressure cooker. They can be quite expensive, normally starting from sort of £150 upwards to £200-300. Easy for you to use. So I do apologise if the connection's just breaking up there, just bear with us. So it's going to be really expensive for you to use initially, and they are quite big and bulky. So they work on, put water in the bottom, so it's a moist way, heat way rather, of sterilising your tools throughout. Very, very effective, but maybe not something you'd want to think about straight away. Then you've got your glass bead sterilisers, which are much smaller, and maybe you might see these in some salons where you've been before. They are hot glass beads in the bottom of like a little bowl, and you submerge your metal tools into them, okay? You normally leave them in there anything from sort of about 2 to 5 minutes, along those kind of lines. Again, they can be a little bit expensive, so maybe around the sort of £100 mark. So again, quite expensive when you're first starting out. And again, this is why people tend to miss the sterilising part out when they're starting out, because an autoclave and a glass bead sterilizer can be really expensive. What I've found when I've been out in the industry and just talking to other people is that NSI, they do a small sterilising unit. It's a little plastic pot about this sort of size, and you can put your tools into it with a solution, and it basically sterilises your tools for you. It is just as effective, but the cost of it is so much lower. It's about £15. Don't hold me to that exactly, but around those kind of prices. And this is the one that I always recommend to my students when you're first starting out. So again, if any of you have been taught by me, you'll know that I've harped on about this time and time again, but it's so important. Something like this is then going to prevent you from cross-contaminating, spreading the blood from one client to another, bacteria, things like so. So it's the NSI little sterilising unit. If any of you have used it, pop a comment on there if you've got a picture of it, and please share it with everybody else. If you haven't seen it, anybody, please just let me know, and I will let you know where you can get it from and give you a bit of helpful advice. But that is the best thing to use. So just to recap on that, so you should be sanitizing things like hand gel, sanitizing nail and file antiseptic spray, your Barbicide, and remembering that should be changed just daily. And then to sterilize, which I would do at the end of every single day. So even if I've only had 1 or 2 clients in, sterilize your tools. This little unit, as I said, from NSI only takes 5 to 10 minutes, and you can just pop it in at the end of the day, leave it in there, and then it's done, and you know that your tools are then fresh and ready to go. Okay, and then just lastly, the other thing to bear in mind is think about maybe having a spare set of cuticle tools when you're working. So if you're out mobile and you accidentally catch somebody, you could then just pop them to one side, use your fresh set, and then sterilize all your tools at the end of the day. So I hope that this has been of some help to you. As I said, please keep commenting anything that you want me to help you with, or you want some advice. I'll keep on coming back to you later this evening, and I hope it's been helpful to you. Our next one is next Wednesday at 10:30, and I'm going to be covering all the different nail shapes. So we'll be looking at your round, your square, your squoval, your almond, and your stiletto, looking at how to